What about me is so attractive to others? When people feel drawn to me, what is it? Today's pick a card reading is about the subject, what attracts others to me. All right. So what we're going to be looking at is qualities and characteristics and just the way that you think, the way that you are, that draws people towards you. Okay. So this is going to be talking about love interests, sure, but it's also talking about any other people you interact with, from family members to coworkers to just people on the street. This is what's most attractive about you and what people feel drawn to. Now, some of you guys are going to have some really special qualities that maybe you're very proud of, some things that are very unique about you. And maybe they're not going to be coming up in this. I just wanted to go ahead and address that if they don't come up, it's not because they're not attractive. It's just because those things attract a more specialized kind of person. This is more general. Like, generally, people are attracted to this about you specifically. And also, sometimes people don't... well, obviously, people have different values. And then another thing is that sometimes we'll have something and we're so good at it that it's actually intimidating. So that might be another thing to go, that's going on here, if your thing doesn't come up. And I'm only saying that because I think that that's an opportunity to look at those qualities that you really value about yourself and try to soften them, or, let yourself know, that while these are really, really valuable and everything, and they're definitely part of who you are, maybe there are other qualities that, it just at least initially draw people to you, okay? I do want to say that this question is brought to us by a viewer. Her name is Miss Scarlett, and I really thank her for all of her suggestions. I will probably do every single one of them, okay? So, each pile, number 1 is the white opalite, number 2 is the black obsidian, number 3 is the purple fluorite, and number 4 is the blue lapis lazuli, okay? Before we begin, I just want to say that anything you need to know about me is in the description, okay? It's like contact information, that kind of thing. Just check there if you need to know anything. The timestamps will be in the description until I am able to make a pinned comment with all the timestamps listed. So keep that in mind. Now that I have said all those important things, let's go ahead and get started. What attracts others to me? If you have not picked your pile, go ahead and pause the video so that you can have the time to pick a pile. Otherwise, we're going to start with pile number 1. Okay. What attracts others to me? Okay, so those of you guys who have picked pile number 1, we're going to focus in on you. All right. White opalite. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the names of these, and then we're gonna look at all of them together. We've got the Horse King, we've got the Trickster, we've also got the Pioneer, we've got Perception, we've got Change, we've got Courage, and we've got Intention. Oh my goodness, you seem like a very passionate person. I mean, you can be bold too, but I'm sorry, you can be gentle too. But I mean, you're very bold. You're very just passionate, very fun person. You're the kind of person that I'd like to be friends with, okay? So let's go ahead and look at the Trickster and the Pioneer. I think that those are going to be the characteristics that are the most obvious. So when you get a Trickster, there's always the idea of some kind of joker or some kind of like maybe class clown or some kind of person who's playing pranks. That's not only what it's talking about. I just want to make sure that that's understood. Now that might be you, okay, what I've just said. However, there's something about the Trickster archetype, which is like the people who are Trickster archetypes. They aren't conventional. They're very, very unique. They don't have predictable behavior, basically. So some people like you because you're unexpected. You're something that people don't expect. You're somebody who is very unconventional. You're so unique in the way that you contribute. And then, some people just like that you're a very fun person and that you make them laugh and that kind of stuff. One thing about the shadow aspect of the Trickster is that you can when there are when you're under stress, okay, or when you're going through some issues, you might find that you either do this on purpose or you don't do it on purpose. It's like more of an unconscious thing that you manipulate other people by kind of playing different roles, kind of thing. Just know that that's not that's not something that people find attractive. It's just another side of the trickster personality that you might want to just kind of keep under wraps, or you might want to work on if that's an issue for you. Okay, we've also got the pioneer. So we've got somebody who's passionate about doing and creating what hasn't been done before. So here we are already talking about this idea of like breaking through conventions. You know, this is not about the kind of person. It wouldn't be the person that does a whole lot of tried and true type stuff. Like when they're looking to solve a problem, they're much more likely to come up with something new. Or a new way of doing things than they would to just kind of go and look through a book and find how it's been solved before and do it. Unless they're in a position where that's their only option, you know. Some people just don't know about certain subjects and that's how they have to solve problems. But still, there's this creative force inside of you that really compels you to try to make things better. Unfortunately, that can also cause you to constantly seek new experiences and new information and that kind of thing, and that can kind of get you a little bit ahead of yourself. So that's kind of the shadow attributes. Just make sure that that's paced well. So here we go. We've got perception. This is a great one. You're very perceptive. You're very insightful. You're very wise. You can read a room and you know what people are thinking, what people are, the dynamics about what's going on between people. You pick up on things real quickly. You notice patterns in your environment. This is not just with people. This is about everything. You're really quick at putting two things together that might seemingly have nothing to do with each other and like piecing the puzzle together. Another word that I use to describe this is actually you're very intuitive. And intuition doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be this kind of magical thing that is, kind of up above our heads that we just kind of sometimes get access to. Intuition to other people is when somebody says something that's true and they just don't know how they came up with it. I feel like that's what you do. You like speak a truth in a way that really captures it really well. Like you get that essence. We've also got change. Okay, so I feel like this indicates that you're very adaptable. We were talking about how you like to improve situations. I really feel like you like to improve situations. You like to, it's like you always see more options than other people do. You might still get just as discouraged as anybody else when you face a problem, but you still come up with ideas on how to solve it. It's like some people will see a problem and immediately give up because it's like their mind just won't be able to handle it. You're the kind of person that in most situations, there's some enormous forces that are going to just paralyze anybody, okay? But in most situations, you see a way to change things for the better. This also comes up when we're talking about an individual who really has like a big passion, a big cause for something. Like they're a champion of a cause, that kind of thing, and they really want to bring about strong social changes as well, or at least they see in the universe, in the world, what's wrong, and they're able to apply their creativity to that to actually get things done, though. Because, I think that most people can say, well, I can see what's wrong with the world, but it's like you're an actual catalyst for that change. Whether you're active in it or whether you just know who to talk to get some things done. So I think that that's also really important. You've got, this is a fairy tale oracle. It's not one that I use as much. It's got this very interesting style of drawing that some people love and some people hate. So I know it's kind of controversial, but I just felt pulled to use this deck. You've got Vasia the Brave, which is about courage. So yeah, I mean, it would make sense that the person that has these attributes that we've talked to is courageous. It does take a lot of courage to change the norm. It takes a lot of courage to stick up and be so authentic that you're willing to be kind of like an iconoclast or unconventional in certain situations. Now some people, it's like, that's not courage, that's just who I am, that's just, I don't see how else to be. And I know that might be what you're like, but what other people see is that they interpret that as being very courageous. Okay, so you've got to understand that this is going through other people's understanding of you, okay? And then we've got intention. You're very clear and decisive. You focus on what you really want. We've also got the boldness. It's like, I think also with this change card, with this like wanting to improve things and this courage and boldness mentioned here. Just so you know, this is Oracle of the Unicorns. I don't use this deck very often either. But I did feel led to pull this. With this one, it's like showing, it's what people are attracted to you is that you can make those decisions under pressure. Now everybody has situations where they feel indecisive. I'm not saying that you can always make clear, concise decisions, but it's like when it really matters, you're able to take decisive action. So I just really feel like you're the kind of person that would be able to act on what you feel is most important to you, or what you feel is most important for the world, whether that's coming from a heart place of, I just want to take care of people, or I just want to make other people more happy, or whether that's coming from a headspace of like, what, we need to solve these problems have been going on for too long, we've got to just do this and this and this, and we've got to be systematic, we've got to be efficient, and let's do it. So this can describe somebody who is both in their heart and their head, or in both. Okay, so I do want to mention that. Okay, and the last one I want to mention is the Horse King. I think that this is something that's kind of like what you need in order to get people on board with you to help change things, or what you need to get people on board to just kind of like be aware of some of your new ideas. Okay, you've got assistance and control. You're very good at kind of taming a person. It's an interesting skill. It's like you're able to take a person that might not think very highly of a situation, and you're able to convince them. You're very convincing. You're able to convince them that the way that they're thinking might need to be reconsidered, that kind of thing. You're really good at opening up people's minds. Now, changing somebody's mind, okay, that's going to be a lot harder, but you're still really good at just kind of planting seeds within other people to start considering, just to start considering like different ideas and different circumstances and all of that good stuff. You bring those other perspectives to other people so that they become more perceptive. Okay, so I think that that's another thing that you really do for people that people find really attractive. You're not afraid to do that. You're not afraid to challenge people, and you do it in a gentle way. You don't do it in a really abrasive way, at least most of the time, right? You tend to be very patient with the people that at least that you care about when it matters, that kind of thing. You're very patient with them when it comes to critical thinking. It really is critical thinking. I also feel like you're the kind of person, none of these cards say this outright, but it's like they're all pointing to this without saying it so much. I also get you're the kind of person that engages in a lot of Socratic thought. This would be the kind of question everything kind of situation. It's like maybe the masses are telling you one thing, and it's like, well, since so many people are saying this, maybe it's worth exploring. However, I'm going to question this. I'm going to remain open until I see for myself whether or not this really is the best movie that's ever been made, or whether or not I really need to be angry because this person did this thing, this celebrity, whatever. So yeah, one thing, it's just you're a very strong person. You're very courageous. You are able to put some things together that other people wouldn't think of. You come up with these great creative ideas. You're very creative. You're unconventional. You're bold. You don't apologize for who you are. And you're really, really good at helping other people to also open up to those perspectives as well. And I think that that's because you're so open and you know what it feels like for yourself to stay open to that kind of thing. So, add open-minded to that as well. I can definitely see why somebody like this would be attractive. And again, like I said at the very beginning, I would love to be friends with you. I really would, because, you're my kind of person. All right, people who pick pile number 2, the Black Obsidian Heart. We're going to go ahead and look at all these cards. I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'm going to go ahead and interpret them for you, okay? So we've got Anger. That's an interesting one. I like that one. We have Loyalty. Okay, we have the Lady of Lightning. She stands for surprises, sometimes shock, a paradigm shift, okay? We've got the Fool. Okay, we've got the Samaritan, we've got Freedom, and also Patience. Okay, I really, really love this. Let's go ahead and start with Anger, just because it's like kind of like, what? Why would somebody be attractive to an angry person? When you do get angry, it's because something isn't right with the world. Something isn't right either inside of you, or there's something isn't right outside of you that you know needs to be changed. And it's like you take that anger and you use it as a positive force for change in the universe, okay? And somebody who's not afraid to express their anger, or who is able to express their anger in a way that it's so mature that it doesn't even really come across as anger, has a really good grip on their emotions. You might not feel like you do. You might feel like you're a very emotional person. It's like, oh yeah, that's funny. I kind of feel crazy sometimes. But no, you're able to actually sit with your feelings for very, very long periods of times and feel comfortable exploring those. Not a lot of people do that. So when you get this Anger card, what it is that people really respect the way that you honor your emotions, and also the way that you go about using your emotions for guidance, okay? And I know that some of you guys aren't necessarily emotional people too. I know that not all of the viewers of pile number 2 are going to be more emotionally oriented, but it's just that when you do use them, you use them wisely, you use them well. So that's why this card came up. Let's go ahead and go to the archetype cards. They're always very interesting, to me at least. So you got the Fool. It's like, okay, so people like me because I'm dumb? Is that it? No, it's nothing like that. This is, and verbatim it says fearlessly revealing emotion. So like, that's kind of interesting. Helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. Another thing about the Fool is that a fool is not willing to is willing to take risks. They're not afraid of being themselves and that kind of thing. But yeah, what you do is that you're able to entertain people, and you're also, like, when you do get going, you are so hilarious. You can just be like, and what about this weird thing? And why do people do this? It's like, I don't even understand why people could ever do that. It's so weird, that kind of thing. And it's like, you really like to point out just how people, like, why do people do a certain thing, because and showing people that it doesn't make sense. And it might even be something that you and your friends, or you and a person that you're talking to, are actually doing at the same time, that kind of thing. But it's like, you just really love to point out absurdity. I think hypocrisy actually kind of really bothers you, but I think that you're able to make jokes about it anyway. One thing that is a shadow aspect of the Fool is when we use humor to make fun of something, or when you use that to wound, basically. So, keep that in mind. That's not something that anybody likes. That might be something that's kind of part of your psyche. We all have shadow attributes, okay? So I'm not picking on you or anything. But just know that that's not what's attractive about this quality. What's attractive about it is that you are very comical and witty and that kind of stuff. And again, we've got that revealing emotion. You use your emotion very wisely. And I also feel like another aspect of the Fool here is that through entertaining, you're also able to provoke other people, or maybe it's like you're able to get under people's skin in a good way, though. You're able to get through to them in a way where they are able to start questioning, what they do with their behaviors. Like, you know what? I don't understand why people do that. Or you might make a joke and there's like this greater truth there. So I think that you also impart some wisdom to people as well. And then we've got Samaritan. So this is somebody who is willing to go the extra distance with people, even people that aren't really that important to them. So you would be a very kind person. You would be somebody who enjoys helping other people. And if you're the kind of person that doesn't really like to be around people that often, you'd be the kind of person that, might want to be a counselor or help people in that way. Or you might want to be somebody who, for example, might write a book to help people, that kind of thing. So this isn't necessarily somebody who's super extroverted, although I think that a lot of you guys will probably be extroverted, but this is just somebody who's comfortable interacting with people in a way that helps them. It seemed like there was something else about this. It's like another aspect about it is it's like you're very sensitive to the people that society kind of ignores. So you might kind of champion a cause for like I'm just pretending, like people like prisoners, for example. A lot of people don't think about prisoners and what their lives are like, and that kind of thing. Are people who are so-called hopeless causes, or that kind of thing. I really feel like you really see people that other people might choose to try to ignore. People or situations that people go through that people brush under the carpet. It's like you're willing to face that, and that's a very strong quality to have, especially if you're willing to face it because you want to make it better. All right. So, Lady of Lightning, let's look at this one. So this is somebody who surprises, sometimes shock, and does these paradigm shifts. So you're the kind of person that can really shift perspective. You're the kind of person that can help others shift perspective, but you don't do it in a way that it's like, I don't feel like you do it with persuasive speech. I don't feel like it's a calculated thing. I think that it's just you're you, and because you're you, other people observe you being you, and they're like, wow, I've never thought about things that way. And they want more of that, because again, we're talking about what attracts people to you. And it's like they want more of you. You might be the kind of person that says things, whether it's intentional or not, for kind of like shock value. You might be the kind of person that's very blunt, that kind of thing. Or you might be the kind of person that maybe you don't talk a whole lot, but when you do, boy, do you have something to say. That kind of thing. It's like somebody who really isn't afraid to speak their truth, that kind of thing. So I really admire that kind of person, and I even think that this is also referring to this, not being afraid to express your emotions in a healthy way. We've got the Snow Queen, loyalty. One thing about you that people notice is that you don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about people, okay? You might kind of, poke fun at a person's behavior or the way a person is, that kind of thing. But when it comes down to the core humanity, you're not the kind of person that would actively, let's say, bully somebody, or you're not the kind of person that would actively try to hurt another human being, in through your words. You're the kind of person that maybe you might offer insight to other people about another person. You might be talking to a friend about another, like a mutual friend, and talk to them and be like, well, you know what? I actually think that they're coming from this place. It's like you always have something good to say about them. And, so like when somebody's maybe tries to gossip about a person, it's not that you'll disengage from that entirely, although sometimes I think that you do, but it's more like when you do engage, you make sure that you are representing a side that helps aid in other people's understanding of that person and their behavior. Because for as much, absurd behavior that you notice and you kind of, you like to bring to light and be like, yeah, what's up with that? You also have a knack for understanding, like, why people make the decisions they do and do the things they do. Patience. Whether or not you are actually patient or not, people are attracted to you because they feel like you're patient. They feel like you'll be patient with them. I think that there's an element of not judging people that you convey. And it's like when other people talk to you, they oftentimes feel as if they're the only people in the world that exist. That because you give them that strong attention, and that conveys an ability for patience, okay? I'm not saying that you are a patient person, okay? Because a lot of people view me as being patient, and I consider myself as very impatient. So, whatever that is, I don't know. But it's just that people see you as being the kind of person that maybe you don't get upset about kind of some of the things that other people would get impatient about, that kind of thing. And freedom. People love a person that they feel like they can't cage, right? There's this kind of weird psychological thing that goes on when somebody sees a free spirit, and it's like they really want to cage that person so they can examine them and like turn them around and look at them and like try to understand them. I think that part of what people find attractive about you is the fact that you are always yourself, and that doesn't change. It's like you're yourself, and that's it. And part of being yourself is that independent thought that you have. So yeah, you have some really positive qualities going for you. I can definitely understand why people would be very attracted to you, definitely. Alrighty. Okay. Hi, those of you who picked pile number 3. I have a lot of cards here, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you what each one of these are, okay? And then we're going to talk about what they mean. So we have the Swan Queen, which represents transformation, intuition, and patience. We've got the Guide, we've got the Teacher, divine timing, surrender, truth, and awareness. All right. Wow. You've got some great things going for you. It's very coherent, too. Let's go ahead and start with the archetype cards. So archetypes have the light attribute and the shadow attribute. So to any kind of characteristic, there's going to be both positive and negatives. Let's focus on the positive right now. Teacher, you're able to communicate knowledge and experience and skill or wisdom. There's something about your presence that helps people understand better. You might actually be a teacher. One thing, though, on the shadow end of it, is that because you have so much knowledge to share with people, you also have the ability to kind of teach destructive skills or maybe things that are not so socially acceptable, that kind of thing. So that's kind of a shadow side that's not as attractive. What people are attracted to is like what they can learn from you, what they can get from you when it comes to knowledge, and whether or not you're a really cerebral kind of person that's very, very thinking oriented or not, you'll find that you attract a lot of very cerebral people towards you. You'll find that you attract people that some people might call them nerds or philosophers, that kind of person. It's because they see you as a source for knowledge. So that's kind of interesting. We also have the Guide. So a guide, helps people on their way. Okay. I don't feel like this is something, I don't feel like you're the kind of person that gives of yourself so much to the point where you have like 500 different people that are just, basically relying on you to get to where they're going. I just feel like you tend to come into other people's lives at almost like the perfect time, and you're able to make this huge impression on them because you're able to help patch up just some little thing that they're working on. And then they remember that about you. And they might even, if you run into this person again, they might even say, oh my gosh, you helped me with that thing such a long time ago. That's a really strong thing to have. You end up making a whole lot of friends this way that you don't even realize that you have. At least some of us don't when this happens. And you might take advantage of people by saying, well, maybe you could do something for me to help you with that. I don't really feel like a whole lot of you do that, but that's something to keep in check. All right. We've also got truth. I think that is so important. When you're imparting this knowledge, when you're helping people, there is this ring of truth to whatever you do and say. It's like it's almost like you don't know how, you don't really know how to misrepresent anything. It's like it doesn't even occur to you that when somebody asks you a question that it would be a good idea to mislead them. One of the words that comes to mind, or I guess it's a phrase, is you have intellectual integrity, intellectual honesty. You're very honest. You know, um, but in general, there's this like light around you that lets other people know that they can trust you. So I really think that one aspect of you that's very, very attractive to others is that you're very trustworthy. They see you as very steady. They also see you as consistent. Some people just really don't like to be around people that are inconsistent of character. So they see you as somebody who's consistent, somebody who imparts the truth to others, and somebody who's just very trustworthy. Okay, I'm not saying that you tell the truth 100% all the time. I'm just saying that compared to most people, you're extremely honest, and I think that that's why you have all of this wisdom and knowledge. Is because it's like because you don't mess around with things that aren't true, you see more truth in your life as a result. And something that kind of goes with that is awareness. You are very, very conscious of your thoughts, and you also look for when you go outside, or when you're in a room, you're very aware of what's going on around you. And this can come from just being very hypersensitive to sensory information, that kind of stuff. But I really want to talk about that, being very aware of your thoughts. When psychology was first being coined, a man named Wilhelm Wundt talked about introspection, and he defined introspection as thinking about thinking, right? And now psychologists tend to talk about that as self-monitoring. That's somebody who's constantly kind of aware of their thoughts so that they can kind of make these little tweaks and corrections to their thoughts when they catch themselves thinking something that's irrational or doesn't serve them. Usually this can come up in like cognitive behavioral therapy. So that's what that reminds me of, is just the kind of person that self-monitors. One might even call this active meditation. But it's just that you have an awareness that a lot of people don't have. People like that you're aware. They find you as very insightful because of that. We've got two cards that are kind of interesting. We've got divine timing, and I think that that's interesting because I really think this has to do with awareness and truth. You're just aware of when the right time is to do something. And also, again, we've got the guide here. It's like, you'll pop into somebody's life at just the right time, that kind of thing. I think that you're very sensitive to timing. Even if you might not be sensitive to like literal time, like you might be chronically late or something like that, but I think that you're sensitive to when things need to be said and when to hold back and that kind of thing. So yeah, you have a good sense of timing. You have a good sense of when things are appropriate to say. And then we've got this kind of aspect of surrender. And people find it very, very attractive when they are able to meet somebody that doesn't have to control every little bit of their life. A person like that conveys this kind of peace, this kind of calm, and even a wisdom about them that makes people feel like this person has some things together, you know? And it could just be that you're the kind of person that's very laid back, you kind of more go with the flow, and that's just something that kind of happens to come, you know, you kind of come across that way, or you might really literally be that way. But either way, people see you as somebody that is capable of just kind of letting things sit, you know. You're comfortable with that, and it's like you're okay. It's almost like you know that things are going to be okay, and that's something extremely attractive. It shows this kind of confidence that a lot of people don't get, especially when they're going through some problems. Okay. So we've got the Swan Queen that talks about transformation, intuition, and patience. I think that awareness and truth, it does take a lot of patience and intuition. This transformation thing is I believe, going back to the teacher and the guide energy here, in that you're able to change things or be a catalyst for change by imparting knowledge to other people, and, you know, kind of helping them out by sharing your wisdom and your intuition with them. So I think that the Swan Queen character comes up because you're the kind of person who you know, you're the kind of person that can help change things for the better. Another thing about this card that's kind of popping out at me, the number is 13 on it, and that might be why, or it might just be just this kind of wave of intuition that I tend to feel sometimes when I'm doing these readings. I also feel like there's something really charming about you because you have some superstition. There's a few things that you're superstitious about. So I think that that's something that is very endearing to others as well. So if there's something that you just do because you're just very superstitious about something, or this can just come through as like a behavior that you do because you're just nervous about it. It could even come across as being a little bit paranoid. Like, for example, you don't ever eat food past the expiration date. By the way, if you're like that, that's what I do too. I don't understand why anybody would do it any other way. But it's like there might be like just some kind of quirk that seems kind of superstitious that you do that maybe other people don't do, and whatever that is, people are very attracted to that. Alrighty, guys? You're very attractive people. Very, very. You have some great things going for you. Hi, number 4. Those of you who picked the Lapis Lazuli, here's your reading. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you the cards that we got, and then I'm going to interpret them, okay? So we've got the Advocate, we've got the Slave, we've got the Shadow Self, we've got Harmony, Purity, the Ringmaster of Scrutiny, and Abundance. You have got so much going on for you. This is great. Let's go ahead. Let's start with these archetypes here, okay? So first we've got the Activate. The Advocate. Sorry. I was trying to say activist at the same time. Yeah, so you're an advocate. So you put compassion into action, basically. This doesn't necessarily mean that this is a job or anything like that. You just notice when things need getting done on a heart level, and you do it. You don't even understand why somebody wouldn't help somebody else out on that emotional level. So you're very, very good at empathizing with others, and you're good at noticing the kinds of people that need that the most, okay? Now, slave doesn't mean that people like you because they see you as submissive. Although you might be submissive, and that might be something that people find attractive about you. But this is more like the kind of person who really trusts in the universe to bring things about. Basically surrendering your power of choice to the divine, right? So it's like, the more positive attributes to being a slave is, not trying so much to control your destiny. Although I'm not saying that you guys don't do things to put yourselves in better places, but it's also just like when you have a problem or a worry or a concern, you really believe it's going to be taken care of. And I think it's because you see the pattern of these things being taken care of in your life anyway. Now, the shadow attribute of this is the more submissive kind of person, or a person that's able to give their basically all of their freedom of choice to an authority figure, for example, or something like that. That's what you need to be aware of. You might be a people pleaser, basically, that feels like you really do have to make other people happy in order for them to like you. And I mean, I guess and I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but it is true. When people feel happy or when people feel good, they tend to like you better. But you can't make a person happy. You can lead them to happiness, but you can't make them happy. So kind of think about it like that. When you feel an urge to try to help somebody be happier, instead of looking at it as like a negative experience to change to a positive experience for that person, look at it more of like, there's a problem here that needs to be solved so the person can feel better. So look to solve the problems, or look to just listen to the feelings that are going on with that person. That's what ends up making them feel valued. You have a sense of purity about you, a sense of it might even be kind of like innocence, but it's like your intentions are so pure, and people see that. They know that you're not the kind of person that would do anything negative towards anybody. At least that's how you come across, right? You come across as somebody who is just has really, really, really good intentions, and that is extremely attractive when you meet somebody who might be very cynical about the world, who might kind of feel like, people are more bad than good and that kind of thing, and they meet you and you're like, wow, it's like, wow, this person, wow, they are so good, and it's like, this huge concentration of all this positive energy inside of you. I really feel like that's extremely attractive to people. I'd actually say that this is probably your most attractive quality of all of these, although, all of this stuff is definitely very attractive. Let's go on to this shadow self. I think this is so interesting. People who are willing to engage in shadow work, or people that are willing to sit with their kind of like negative emotions until they're able to feel comfortable with that. They're willing to look at some very, very harsh truths about themselves. So I would say that you're very aware of your own personality. You're also very aware of your own faults. And you're not afraid to let people know that you have faults, that kind of thing. Some people just, they want to come across as being awesome and totally together at all times. But you're more of the kind of person that, you know that humanity is this kind of spectrum. And that sometimes we can be a little bit closer to a negative spectrum than a positive spectrum, but that all of it is part of humanity. I think that because of that might be another reason why you come across as so pure, is because you understand people through this. And that brings us to the harmony, that you're able to get along with people because you know that everybody's basically fighting a battle, everybody has, these struggles in their life. And the last thing you want to do is make anything like that worse for them. So, people like you because they get along with you. You're the kind of person that a lot of people can get along with. Now, maybe you don't like a whole lot of people. That could be true. But a lot of people like you. That kind of thing. All right? This is an interesting thing because, we've got the ringmaster of scrutiny. Okay? So this person shows discernment, clear vision, so you might be a little clairvoyant, there, and they're really aware of the details. So the first thing I want to say about this has very little to do with the actual card. It has more to do with, you might dream a whole lot, and like have high dream recall. I mean, that might be something that's like kind of interesting to other people because you have a really rich inner world. Going back to the actual key words and that kind of thing, this person pays attention to the details. People like that you remember certain things about them. They like that you remember them, basically. And I think it's just because you're so aware of things that you're able to pick up on like more of the nuances of people because you've looked at your own nuances. So that's something that people like, and people also like that when you make decisions, you do them wisely with discernment, like the key card here. Just looking at all these books, you might be really big into reading, and that definitely feeds your ability to empathize with others and get along with others because you've studied humanity so much. You've studied the way that different people convey humanity and that kind of thing. Another thing with you is that you've got this like huge appreciation for what you have. It's like you are constantly living in this in a feeling of gratitude for what you do have. You're the kind of person that doesn't take things for granted. At least that's how you come across to other people. It's just being very grateful. If a person helps you, you're very grateful to them, and you would convey to them that it really matters to you that they did that kind of thing. So I really think that kind of attitude, it's just, you've got a really positive attitude when it comes to that. People don't feel like you're going to take them for granted. People feel like that when you're interacting with them, you see their worth. So yeah, you seriously, you've got a whole lot of really great things to going for you. Some of the readings were more like all the cards kind of went together really well. And I'm not saying your cards don't, they do, but you've got so many different attributes that people find attractive that it's like, I would imagine that you have more people that are drawn to you than the average person. And I apologize if you're an introvert because for some reason that happens to me, and I'm more introverted. And while I love to talk to people and help people, and I find people so interesting, I'd rather do it over a screen, like with a screen between me and maybe a couple of continents. But I mean, it is what it is. I really feel like you're the kind of person that really attracts a whole lot of people. So one thing that you might want to work on is being able to pick out, like, how can I look at these people that are attracted to me and pick who's a quality person to engage with and who's somebody to just kind of be very polite to, but just kind of move them along and, maybe not have them be so much a part of my life. Because I do know that when there's a lot of people that come towards you and you have a heart that wants to get along with people and is genuinely interested in other people too, it can be very difficult to sometimes set boundaries and be able to kind of limit that interaction to just people who are really quality for you, okay? So that would be something to work on, although most people would say you don't have anything to work on. Most people would be like, no, this person's great. Alrighty? So, thank you guys so much for sticking to the end of my video. As always, love the feedback. If you feel led to, go ahead and leave some feedback, some comments. I read them all. I listen to you. If you have a suggestion for a pick a card reading, please tell me. I'll do it. I'll put it on my list, and just know that I really enjoy doing this, and you will be seeing me again tomorrow with another pick a card reading.